Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about retirement planning, specifically that really popular common sense plan that, millions of people are following right now. But here's the catch. It's pretty much designed to fail.
Seriously, if you're following this plan, you are on the absolute fastest track to failure. Sounds crazy, right? Let's break down why that perfect plan you have might actually be a disaster just waiting to happen. All right, let's get right into it. Does this sound familiar? The thinking that goes, oh, I'll just pull in 15% annual returns from my stocks, and then poof, when I retire, I'll just slash my spending in half. No problem. I mean, it's the kind of advice you hear all the time, but it's built on some seriously shaky ground.
So, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on this whole thing. We're going to unpack the myths that make this plan so incredibly risky and show you why that common sense approach could lead you to, a very, very stressful retirement.
Okay, so this whole flawed plan really boils down to three core delusions. Think of them as the big myths. So let's put on our myth-busting hats and tackle the very first one.
First one up, and it's a biggie. This belief that the stock market is some kind of magical money machine, right? That it just keeps printing those awesome double-digit returns year after year, forever and ever. Stocks only go up. Now, here's where that whole delusion really takes root. Look, over the last decade, it's true the S&P 500 did average around 15% a year, and that feels great. But that's just a tiny snapshot in time. The long-term historical average, it's much closer to 10%. So planning your entire future based on a recent hot streak, that's a massive, massive gamble. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Expecting 15% returns forever is like living through a heat wave in July and deciding, you know what, I don't need a winter coat. You might feel like a genius for a couple of months, but guess what? Winter, it always arrives. All right, on to delusion number 2. And this one is sneaky. It's the one where we completely ignore the power of inflation to just silently eat away at all your hard-earned savings. So imagine this. You look at your portfolio and you see this beautiful number, a 10% return for the year. You're feeling pretty good, right? You're a financial genius. You made money. Or did you? Because then reality hits you like a ton of bricks. If inflation was running at 7% that year, your real return, what you can actually buy with your money, was only 3%. Suddenly that big, impressive number looks, well, a lot smaller. Here's a perfect way to think about it. Let's say you get a 10% raise at work. Awesome. But then the price of chicken goes up by 20%. Are you actually any richer? Nope, not at all. You're actually falling behind. And that is exactly what inflation does to your investment returns. And don't think this is just some short-term blip. Get this. There was a 30-year stretch in the US where the real return on stocks, after you account for inflation, was less than 1%. Think about that. An entire working career where the market basically went nowhere in real terms. Ouch. And that brings us to our third and final delusion. This is the comforting one, right? The idea that the second you retire, your expenses will just magically get chopped in half. No more commuting, no more buying lunches at work. It sounds pretty logical, doesn't it? Well, the actual data tells a very, very different story. Research shows that retirees actually spend somewhere between 93 and 97% of what they did when they were working. The drop is tiny, it's almost nothing. So what on earth is going on here? And here's the harsh truth. That little drop in spending, it isn't because people suddenly decide they want less. It's because they are forced to spend less. They're running out of money. It's not a choice. It is the brutal consequence of a failed plan. Okay, so we've busted the myths, and it might sound a little bleak. But here's the good news. A secure retirement really just revolves around one single number. The one number that you and only you can actually control. And that number is your savings rate. It's super simple. It's just the percentage of your take-home pay that you save and invest. That's it. It's not your investment returns. It's not trying to time the market. This is the real engine of your retirement plan. Okay, this slide right here, this is everything. Just look at this. If you want to retire securely and you're hoping for a 5% real return, which, by the way, is still pretty optimistic, you need a 12% savings rate. Okay, but watch what happens. If you can boost your savings rate to 20%, All of a sudden, you only need a 3% real return to hit that exact same goal. You see, a higher savings rate makes you way less dependent on a risky, unpredictable market. It literally buys you safety. And figuring this out couldn't be simpler. Seriously, just take your monthly income after taxes, subtract everything you spent that month, and whatever is left over, that's your savings. And yeah, of course, any money you put into an investment account absolutely counts as savings.
So, how do you actually put this into practice? Well, if you're in Korea, there's a specific toolkit you can use, and it includes a pretty powerful local advantage. Here is your reality checklist. We've already covered the first three big ones, right? Don't get fooled by past returns, always do the chicken price test for inflation, and be really honest with yourself about your retirement spending. But in Korea, you also have a kind of secret weapon, the national pension. Seriously, before you do anything else, you have to check your estimated pension amount. Think of that as the foundation, and then you build your personal savings on top of it.
So once you know your savings rate and you know your pension estimate, you're going to be faced with a choice. If there's a gap between what you have and what you need, there are really only three fundamental ways to close it.
And here they are, your options. Number one, save more. Simple. It means sacrificing a little bit now for a lot more security later. Number two, risk more. You can chase those higher returns with more aggressive investments, but as we've already seen, that comes with zero guarantees and a whole lot of stress. Or number three, work longer. Maybe that means delaying retirement by a few years or finding some part-time work. There is no magic fourth option. It's always going to be a combination of these three trade-offs.
So it's time to stop chasing market fantasies and start dealing with reality. Your retirement really all comes down to what you can control, starting right now. Your future self is depending on the choices you make today. So what's your first move going to be?